All right, so we've been talking about a program flow called selection. It's the idea that I can march down my program and then decide whether or not I want to execute logic. So what I need to talk about is another type of program flow. It's called repetition. And it means that I can take some logic, execute it, and then repeat it. I can repeat the exact same logic over and over and over again until some condition is met. There's a variety of different selection looping, repetition structures. Let's talk about the for loop. So this is what the for loop looks like. It'll say something like for in range, and then I'm going to give it a number. It is a container, so I need that colon, and then everything else is going to be tabbed in. And as long as I'm in the container, we're going to do some stuff. So this is an example. For I would be the variable name. It's not a very descriptive variable name, but you're going to find out the vast majority of your programming books, they use the letters I, J, and K as what I call counter variables, so you can count stuff. I tend to want to use a slightly more descriptive variable name, but here's an example. For I in range 10, print this is interesting. It's going to print this is interesting 10 times because I told it in range 10. For I in range 15, print the value of I. What this is going to do is going to print it 15 times, but what I want you to pay attention to is the fact that it doesn't print 1 to 15. It'll print 0 to 14. Now let me harken back to numbering systems and data representation when we said how many digits are in the decimal numbering system. There are 10 of them. And what are they? 0 through 9. Why not 1 through 10? Right, because 10 is not a digit. 10 is 2 digits, 1, 0. And so it's 0 through 9. How many digits are in the binary number? There are 2, and what are they? Right, not 1 and 2, but 0 and 1. That's because they are zero-based languages. We're going to find out that vast majority of programming, all programming languages are also zero-based. So when I say in range 10, it's not going to go 1 to 10. It's going to go 0 up to, but not including that range value. We're going to practice the for loop. The for loop is really good if I want to loop a known number of times. So if I know how many times that I would like to loop, a for loop is really good for that. So I'm going to say for count in range, and then I have the parentheses. We're going to try to loop 10 times, so I'm going to say in range 10. And then I need that full colon because when I press enter, it's going to make sure that I'm inside of the for bucket. And I'm going to print something like I am inside a for loop. I use the variable name count because I think count is a much more descriptive variable name for a counting or a loop control variable. The for loop will automatically set that variable count to 0, and then it will increment it 1 and checks the condition. The range is 10. Have I reached 10 yet? Nope. It executes it. It increments it. Now it's a 2. It checks the range. 10. Have I reached it yet? Nope. Executes it again, and it repeats it over and over again. So let's print this and see what happens. If I don't know how many times it actually printed it, let's see what it looks like if I print it. I just like to see what's inside that counter variable, what the counter variable is doing. So I'm going to say for count in range, I'm going to say 15, why not? And I need that colon. You notice the colon can be flush up next to the range parenthesis, or it can be spaced away, either one. What I'd like to do is I would like to print my counter variable. I just want to see what's in it. And I'll even put a text field on the beginning. If I run it again, I should get my first 10, and now I can see exactly what's in that counter variable. Notice I didn't have to reset my counter variable. I'm pretty sure by the time I dropped out of that first loop, count would have been 9. I didn't have to reset it. Set it at 0, ran it all the way up to 14. All right, so there's one famous count, and so it wouldn't be a program on counting. We are going to count cookies. So let's say for count, what I'm going to do here is I am going to say, as an homage to the famous counter, I have 12 cookies. I have 11 cookies. That's what I wanted to say. So let's see if we can build that print statement. Let me type it in. This is what I want it to say, 10 cookies. How do you spell wah? He says it, wah. How do you spell that? W-A-A. You guys can spell it however you would like to. Whatever you think the count is saying. This is the print statement that I'm going to build. So the text field says I have, comma, separated from 10. I don't want to hard code 10. I actually want it to be 12. 11, 10, 9, 8. What value can I put in there that might perhaps contain 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. I bet I can use my counter variable to do that, right? And then I'll comma separate it from the rest of the statement, which I'm just going to copy and paste in there. And let's see what we get. Always counting up. I have 0 cookies. I have 1 cookie. I have 2 cookies. I'm going to call this version 1.0 because it's not quite right. But it's still doing something. He's counting cookies. The for loop is excellent for counting when I have a known number of values. I'm going to force a couple of new lines in here. I wonder how high I can go. What if I run to 120? This is a website. So if everybody in the room is at the point, put 12 million cookies in there, I think we're crashing the website. If everybody in the room is doing it simultaneously. Development environment that was installed on my own personal computer like JGrasp or NetBeans, running Python, we could run it to 12 million cookies. And you could see how fast these loops would execute. Because when I say count to 12, it just pops. If I say 12,000, I can begin to see it execute as it's counting. I can see how fast it's executing these loops. So let's do a birthday greeting. Who doesn't want to do a birthday greeting? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt the user for their age, and I'm going to wish them happy birthday for every year of their age. So I'm going to create a variable called age, and I'm going to politely say something like, please enter your age. Because if you're going to ask a person a question like that, you should probably be polite about it. And then I am going to put my for loop in here. Now I'm going to say for count in range. Well, I don't know how old they are. And so instead of hard coding some 12 or 10 or 2400, I can actually put a variable in there. And now it's going to run up to whatever it finds age. And we're going to print a birthday greeting. So I'm going to say something like 1 birthday greeting, 2 birthday greetings, 3 birthday greetings. So if I say count birthday greetings, I'm going to change that 1200 back to 12 before I test it. If I do this and I say that I am 15 years old, it's going to say 0 birthday greetings. But I don't want to say 0 birthday greetings. I wanted to say 1, 2, all the way up to their age, 15. It only got to 14 and they are 15. By crackies, they're 15. Enough to get their learner's permit. They're not to celebrate about being 15, but I didn't wish them happy 15th birthday because my counter variable goes from 0 up to but not including the range. How can I get it to display a more friendly user display? Why don't I do that? If you don't mind, I'm actually going to do it below so that we can see both of them. I'm going to put more friendly. I'll put more friendly user interface. So instead of printing count, I can print count plus 1, birthday greetings. Of count, it can actually add 1 to count, literally. It only adds 1 to the count when it displays it. So let's run it one more time. Then I am 15. I broke it. So instead of duplicating it inside of there, how about if we just create another for loop? All right, this might be a little bit easier to read instead of putting the two of them side by side. All right, how about 12? There we go, 0 to 11, and then we did 1 to 12. Notice that it didn't literally change the value of count as I was moving through the loop. So print count plus 1 just changes the way that it displayed it. It's an important distinction to make. We need our greeting to be slightly more grammatically correct because it says 1 birthday greetings, plural, 2 birthday greetings, 3 birthday greetings. 1 birthday greetings is not grammatically correct. To the user, the interface is the program. And so it's critically important that I, as a skilled and trained developer, create grammatically correct user interface, spelled right, grammatically correct, that's appealing to the user. And so in order to be more grammatically correct, instead of just saying birthday greetings, this time, what I would really like to say is 1 birthday greeting, 2 birthday greetings, plural, 3 birthday greetings, plural. How in the world can I get it to do that? When the value is 1, I want it to display 1 birthday greeting, display birthday greetings, plural. How can I go about doing that? Daryl? Excellent. That's what a select structure, an if statement is, an if statement. It's the statement. I can decide what logic I want to execute based upon some given condition. And the condition is, I would say if my counter variable is equal to 1, print greeting singular. The rest of the time, print greeting plural. Now, there is one thing that I'm going to mention to you, is I know that it seemed to be trivial, and it may be trivial if I'm just 12 years old, but I said the if statement, we could use an if else, right? If my counter variable is equal to 1, let's build it and let's see what it looks like. I could say something like, or we're going to use the for loop for count in range. We're still going to look for age. And I'm going to say if count is equal to 1, okay, remember my counter starts at 0. My counter starts at 0. So if count is equal to 1, I'm going to have to take care of that in just a minute. We're going to print something like count birthday greeting. Else birthday greetings. Plural. There you go. Now we do have the fact that my counter is going to start at 0 and run up to 14, not 1 to 15. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is say count plus 1, because counter is going to start at 0, and I don't want it to say 0 birthday greetings. So I'm going to add a 1 to it just to make it more friendly. Count plus 1. And let's run it and see what happens. We should put that plus 1 on all of my counters. Now it says 1 birthday greeting. Now it's grammatically correct. It's a beautiful program. It's got to be worth at least 32 cents on the App Store because now it's more grammatically correct.